In this video, traders, we're going to look at the age-old thing, the difference between trading and gambling. Stay tuned. Hey guys, warm welcome to you. All right, so this conversation, this topic comes up time and time again. I think I've done a video on it probably a few years ago, but it's well worth revisiting and maybe approaching from a different angle because there's an age-old saying where, hey, trading is gambling. What's the difference between trading and gambling? And some people will sit on the sidelines and go, there's no difference between trading and gambling. Others will say, hey, it is what it is. Now listen, the way that I look at things is, it depends how you define gambling for one. You could say it's a gamble crossing the road because 999 times out of 1,000, there's going to be absolutely no problem. You look where you're going, you cross the road, it's okay. That one time you might not see a vehicle, might be speeding, the guy might have had a few beers, he might hit you. This is potentially, to me, a gamble. We never kind of put a gamble label on it. So it depends how you're kind of labeling things and defining things. To me, there's a risk in everything that we do. You might go to a restaurant. There's a chance that probably 1 in 10,000 people will catch some horrible food poisoning, but you don't stop you going to the restaurant. You take the risk. But let's kind of entertain the fact that gambling, we'll consider gambling as somebody who trades or who does something for the thrill of it. So they enjoy the thrill of the risk. They enjoy the buzz of the reward. They enjoy the dopamine hit when they get something, some sort of payback. And that's when we get people who are addicted to it. And it's kind of, there's loads of studies that show it's very similar to drugs. So let's use that for now. I'm not 100% convinced that that's the way we should define it, but let's define it for this, because this is the argument that people will put across. Gambling, people who are just punting away, and trading. So the difference to me is that there's a few differences. One of the biggest differences is the way you approach something. If you go look at people who are professional gamblers, so to speak, in horse racing, they approach it very differently from the average person who goes down to the horses, sticks 50 quid on, red, whatever, rack 'em to win, and they win or they don't. The professional gambler, even though he's marked as a gambler, he's a professional because his approach, he studies what's going on, his approach is completely different. So if we looked into the parallel of trading, you look at a professional trader or a trader who approaches it completely different from a gambler. There's plenty of gamblers out there, guys, who are punting away in the forex market or whatever market, come along, stick some money in, have a punt, goes up, they feel great, goes down, they feel sad. There are going to be people like that. The markets will attract those type of people. The difference between those type of people and the trader, whether or not you have consistency and profitability yet, is irrelevant in my eyes. It's the approach. If you're going into it with a professional approach and you believe this is something that you can approach it with a real kind of methodical attack vector as if you were running a business, that already is a good difference, a differentiator. The guy who just opens his phone, sees cable going up, buys it. It's a lot different to the guy who's taking time studying. Now the outcome is irrelevant at that point in time, but it's the approach. And then we look at the risk. A gambler doesn't care about the risk. He sticks some money on, he doesn't think about it. When we are looking from a trading perspective, the risk is still the same, theoretically on the same deal, but it should be reverse engineered to what the total risk we're prepared to risk on over the year, over the month, over the quarter, over the week. And again, it's a calculated risk of, hey, I'm prepared to risk this on this trade, and this is why. Well, as opposed to the gambler who didn't really think about it, he just takes the trade. And then it's when you trade. So again, we look at a gambler's perspective, there's no method to it, there's no setup, there's no waiting for it, it's what they feel, it's their gut, because they're doing it to get the dopamine hit of the trade. The trader, or the professional trader, whether you want to call professional or not, it's debatable, but the trader is waiting for something they believe has the edge. Now, whether that has got an edge or not, again, I don't think is important. At some point in time, there is a journey to be made, and I don't think that that defines whether you're a trader or a gambler, what's going on at the beginning, because the journey's there to be made to get to whatever level you want to be as a trader. But that's the point, is the setup makes you the trader. The gambler doesn't really look at setups, or maybe they half-heartedly look at it. Again, so you can start to have the picture of the difference in two. And when the analysis that you're doing in the market, a gambler won't spend the time doing analysis. They can't be bothered. They're only interested in the dopamine hit. They're only interested in the actual aspect of clicking the button. And you find that's when gamblers are very, very attracted to day trading, because they get that hit, they get the hit. And you've got to be careful as well. You don't fall into that trap as well. We talked about it before. Performance review. It's like a business. You run and say, hey, what am I doing well? What am I not doing well? How can I improve? A gambler would never do that. They'd never even approach that from that aspect. If we approach it from a business-like aspect, from a professional aspect, doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to guarantee success in the game. However, it is the differentiator. If you're looking back and you're saying, hey, I've spent a lot of time studying this, and I've done this, and I've done that, and I know that I can improve here, that is setting you miles apart from the gambler. And then the mindset. If you are determined, you've got a plan, 6 month, 1 year, 2 year plan for your trading. You don't expect to make money in month 2, 3, 4, whatever it is. That's just the same as setting up any other business, putting some investment in and moving it forward. The gambler won't have a long-term view. He doesn't care, he or she doesn't care where he's going to be. He's got dreams of perhaps making lots of money, but he cares about the next trade, the next trade, the next trade, the next trade. Doesn't care about the process, just cares about the P&L for the next deal. That is, to me, the big distinction between the gambler and the trader. Now, you could argue till the cows come home and say, well, gambling's this, it's a risk, it's that. Yes, we addressed that at the beginning of the video. It doesn't matter. From my perspective, and again, my opinion, guys, right or wrong, who knows? This is the way I look at things. I think there's a distinct difference between the two. And I think that these are some of the things that differentiate them. So if you're kind of in the situation where by gambling or trading, just look at how you're approaching things. Look at how you're approaching. It didn't say you can't enjoy the aspect of trading, but you get more from the process, you get more from the vision of where you're going. You do the tough stuff that you've got to do, as opposed to just hitting the button, which is the fun part. Everyone loves placing the trade, making the money. That's the fun part. That's what the gambler will focus on. If you're focusing on the other aspects of trading, the analysis, the research, the checklist, the pre-market checklist, all this kind of stuff, that then starts to set you apart and put you out of the gambling category, in my opinion. Anyway, guys, take care. See you next one. Don't forget to check out our channel sponsor. There's a link to them in the description below. Bye-bye.